1961, you did a terrific film called The Great Imposter.
I did that really for the director, Robert Mulligan. I just finished Fear Strikes Out. And he said, I'm doing a film, it's a small part in here, would you do it? I said, what is it? A priest. And I said, now wait a minute. And I figured it out, and I said, I'll do it. The reason I said, let me think about it, is because I've based my career on one thing, and only one. Not the money, not the parts. When I played On the Waterfront, the priest, I was given 2 or 3 priests to play right afterwards. And I'd learned my lesson from the 2 films before when I played detectives. And after that, again, I played the second detective, and I was given the third, and I said, all detectives. So I'd know. So I said, from now on, if I play a priest, I won't play a priest for at least 5 or 6 years. In between. I won't follow it up, no matter what the money is. And that's what I based my career on.
You mentioned that Robert Mulligan asked you to play it.
Yes.
You had done Fear Strikes Out with him. Obviously, that was a good experience for you.
It was.
And so you said, fine, Bob, let's work together again. In Fear Strikes Out, you played John Pearsall, the father of Jim Pearsall.
Father.
Now, it's another situation where Malden is playing a live person. I mean, a person who you could actually meet.
Father.
Did you ever actually meet John Pearsall, the man who you played?
No. As a matter of fact, I think the father was dead by that time. But I did meet Jimmy.
Pearsall.
I met Jimmy. And he said to me, he said, you really made my father mean. I said, well, was he or wasn't he? He said, well, he wasn't that mean.
What's this I hear about you not going down to spring training? Is that right, Jane? Doesn't sound like you. We don't go in for that kind of stuff, do we? It's no time to get cold feet. Sure, they put you in the infield, so you'll have to work a little harder. So what? You're making the majors, Jim. That's what counts. What have we been fighting for and scraping for all these years? And what have we been pouring our blood into? Oh, Jim. Boy, this is no time to buckle up. You want them to call you Yella? Well, if that's what you want, you're no son of mine, then. You promise me you'll be on that train tomorrow. Come on, Jim, promise me. I'm waiting, Jim.
Okay. I'll go.
What must there be in a script, when you get it, that provokes a yes from Karl Malden?
With that particular script, the thing that fascinated me, first of all, is I'm a sports fan. The fact it was about baseball fascinated me. The fact that there were going to be baseball games fascinated me. Secondly, the fact that this, again, was a real character who, it was written, to me, very mean. The lines that he had to say when he met, for instance, Pearsall's in the minor leagues, and the father comes to see his son, and the son says, hey, Dad, I'm batting .298. And the father says, that's not 300. With all that kind of drive that he gives his son, this kind of iron that he's trying to place into his son, I try to get at the fact that there was love there. Mm. There was love, that frustration from my point of view that I never could make it. At the same time, I think I'm doing the best for you. I think I'm doing the best.
But what you're saying is, whatever it looks like to you in the audience, John Pearsall, in his heart, thought he was a good father.
Absolutely. I've always felt there's no such thing as a heavy, a mean man. There isn't a mean man in the world, to me, that gets up in the morning and says, today I'm going to be mean. There isn't a man like that. There is a man who gets up and says, I'm going to face the world, and suddenly he's placed in a corner. Something happens where he's cornered, and in order to get out of that corner, he has to fight his way out, and he fights out any possible way he can. That, to me, makes a heavy. But you don't go in there saying, I'm mean. This is a mean character.
Change of pace. Herbie Summers. is a character in a Mervyn LeRoy film called Gypsy. What are your thoughts about Mervyn LeRoy as a director?
I love Mervyn LeRoy as a director.
Really?
Charming, wonderful man, always had a happy set. And I don't do this often, but with Mervyn, I found myself doing it and enjoying it, kidding him through the whole thing. Mervyn's whole idea of direction, he knew what he was doing, mind you. He's done some wonderful films. He would sit in that canvas chair after being on the phone for an hour while they were setting up, talking about Hollywood Park or something, I don't know what it was. Then he'd come in, sit in this chair and says, all right, now, give me a nice warm scene. That was his idea of direction, see? And after a while, as he came walking out, I'd sit in his chair and say, Mervyn, we're going to give you a nice warm scene. So those are the kinds of things I was doing with Mervyn, and he didn't object to it, and maybe I shouldn't have. He was a nice man. I enjoyed Mervyn very much.
Hello, Charlie. I was Uncle Jocko.
Uncle Jocko? Well, where's your goggles and tam o' shanter? How come you're selling candy?
I quit the profession, thanks to you.
Me?
Yeah, you triggered it down in L.A. I had this candy bar proposition for a long time, and I'm singing like a bird. I tipped the fedora to you. Your name is Summers, Herbie Summers.
Hobart. Rose Hobart. And how come you quit the profession to become a candy butcher?
Because, lady, Rose, the profession is making a buck the hard way.
Not if it's in your blood.
When you say that, you look like a pioneer woman without a frontier.
Is that good or bad?
Oh, it's good. You've got what it takes. You won't let the world push you around. Say, it's that fashionable cocktail hour again, Rose. I would like to buy you a small booze and a bite to eat. Now, there's a local speak which has fair gin but dandy chow mein if you happen to go in for Chinese food.
Is there any other kind?
Your dad has been a very important influence in your life. And you said that he came here from Yugoslavia. You've always been very proud of your Yugoslavian heritage.
I have,
and
very much so.
You've spoken of it with great pride. My sense of it was that he might have been a director, that he had that kind of love for theater, but that he had trouble with the language. And that was really the reason why he had to go into a different direction.
That is true, except that he's a man that came here without a trade, without something. He came to this country, like many of them did, through Ellis Island, and not having a trade. He became a carpenter. Worked in the steel mills for 12 years of his life. Hated that every minute of it, as he used to say, and then finally got a job driving a milk wagon. And that he did for 38 years of his life, and he was content doing that. And I didn't know until he died, an uncle of mine, this uncle said, you know, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anybody. But we used to work together in a lumber yard. And one day, coming home on a streetcar, he said to me, he says, how would it be if I went to an acting school? You see, it was there. There was something there. And this uncle said to him, he says, you're crazy. You don't speak the language. And my dad said to him, but acting is not language. Acting has to come from inside. Something inside makes you do something. So that feeling was always there with him.
When you were speaking there, you were speaking in Serbo-Croatian just
yes,
now.
That's
so
right.
You learned that at home. As a child, you learned Serbo-Croatian?
That's the first language I taught. I didn't know what they were talking about until I went to kindergarten, and then I was always 2 and 3 years behind, which I am even to this day.
Was there ever a moment when you went to your folks and you said, this is what I'm going to do with my life, Dad, this is what I want to do, Mom, I'm going to become an actor?
My dad thought I was foolish, because at that time, it was the Deep Depression, 30, 31, 32, and I had a job in the steel mills, and if you had a job, you were lucky.
It was a steady income.
Yes, that's right. And he thought I was foolish to go ahead and do this at this particular time, which is what I want to do. My mother is the one that says, do you think you can really do it? And I said, I have to give it a try. And she turned around and said, go ahead, give it a try. The steel mills will always be here.
Forgive me if this is a personal question, but did they live to see your successes? Did they live to see you on Broadway and what you created, the career that you created?
They did. My dad died at the age of 90, and my mother's still alive. She's 100 years old. So they did live. They did live to see it. I have one regret. About 4 years after Streets of San Francisco. I wanted to bring my father here and put him in an episode of Streets of San Francisco, which I never did. I would have loved to seen him walk across the street just once.
And yet, I think that you must have given him a great gift as a man who clearly loved theater. And when he said to you, Karl, you know, be careful, he was being a good daddy. He was looking after your security.
I think he was, yes. Yes, he was. Also knowing that it's not easy. This is not an easy profession.
He named you Mladen Sekulovic.
Mladen.
Mladen.
M-L-A.
Named you Mladen Sekulovic.
Yeah.
And I have read, this may be apocryphal, but I have read that you had to change your name.
I did.
In fact, this is what I read, so you tell me if I've got this right. When you joined the group theater in New York, so you still had that name. And they said, well, the group theater, it has certain political implications, and it sounds a little too Jewish. Is this right?
100% true.
Now, and of course, you're not Jewish, you're a Yugoslavian, but they said, we need you to change the name.
You mind if you change the name.
And so you did.
And it was Kazan and Roman Bonin, who were members of the group, and they did come up to me, and would you change your name? I said, well, is it necessary? He said, for the reasons that this is a Jewish organization. They think it's a Jewish organization, and we're not. So I said, let me think it over, and it didn't take long. It was a job. And the next day I said, yeah, I'll change it, but I don't know what. He said, well, that doesn't take time and think. So I took the Mladen, M-L-A, and changed the M-A-L, made it Malden.
Yeah.
And I took my mother's father's name, Karl.
Yeah.
And became Karl Malden.
But I have heard that in every movie, or almost every movie that you've made, that you have worked in, almost as a tribute to your dad, you've worked in the name Sekulovic somewhere, that it's become almost like a Karl Malden signature.
It is.
Well, how did you work it in, if I can ask? How did you do it?
Well, it started with On the Waterfront. In the courtroom scene where all the hoods are in that area, and they were calling names, so-and-so, get up here, get up here. And Gads was shy one name. And he says, do you mind if I use your real name? I said, no, go ahead. So that's how Sekulovic started. And from that time on, I found a place where always I could throw it in Patton. General Bradley is blown out of a Jeep. And at this particular take, I lost my helmet, and it rolled over, and I was on the ground, and I said, Sekulovic, get the helmet. So you toss it in wherever you can.
Give me that helmet, Sekulovic.
Tell us a little bit about Birdman of Alcatraz.
That was one place where I had a difficult time finding where I could put the name. So I decided to put the name on one of the cells. As I walked by, he says, this is Jones, the Smith, Sekulovic. And the new warden came in, and I was telling him all these people. And the film came out, and my dad went to see it like he did all the films I was in. He went to see it. And he called me immediately and said, son, I want you to know that a Sekulovic was never in prison.
West, Rather, Sekulovic.
Tell me about the making of the film.
The warden, it wasn't easy because he understood that he had a man who really didn't belong in prison. What he was doing was something marvelous, I felt, as the warden. And yet, I didn't put him there. And I couldn't get him out. And I had to put up with it.